My legacy at the University of Pittsburgh. PITT News. As a ritual dissent editorialist in the 80s during the nightmare years of the fascist Reagan, are interesting from a psychological dimension. I was sort of a Cardinals kid being raised in Pittsburgh where the Pirates were hypertrophied. And I was attacked really very viciously. When I began to carry on intellectual discussions with the University of Pittsburgh faculty and honors students, I learned to my dismay that there was a thread of conscientious, studied dishonesty. And although I recognized, of course, that they were offering arguments for genocide, genocidal arguments in the 80s, I didn't really believe that they could possibly mean them. And I put out tentative feelers. Do you understand what you're implying by what you say? Does Mark Nordenberg understand what he is implying when he tells students in law to knowingly prosecute innocent people and so on? Does he understand that he's violating the ethical standards of a university on which my father was senior faculty as an ethical standard bearer? Does he understand that he's insulting the dignity of the University of Pittsburgh? And I couldn't believe they really meant it. Even when they took me to a party in a room in which there was nothing but a piranha fish tank, a huge piranha fish tank. I thought these are clowny acts. They can't possibly really understand what they're saying. Which is one of the reasons why I was interested to hear that South Africa would be presenting a war crimes trial, a genocide case against Israel at the International Court of Justice, because I wondered, these clowny acts have always enlisted the NAACP for prurient reasons. They're really very immature people who come to repertory theater and so on. Whammo. They're just, they play. I mean, I found it really very difficult to accept. I mean, I almost sympathize with people who were covering for their atrocitarian war game concerning the AIDS attack until they gave me Parkinson's, poisoned me in the mouth, released COVID-19. I didn't really believe. I wanted to believe that the so-called spiders from Mars culture was putting on a drama show on Mount Desert Island, but I proved that they weren't to my realization, and brought the evidence home and said, look at this. The NAACP were validating and vouchsafing and advocating for and justifying and even openly admitting that they stood with this man who, after all, had openly proclaimed Joseph Goebbels, the minister of propaganda for Nazi Germany, as his idol. And the NAACP was justifying him. I thought, well, maybe this South African genocide case will change things in their heads. Because after all, if the United States of America does get sued by South Africa, they're going to have to explain why did they go along with the contraption of justifying Mount Desert Island in the name of the release of Nelson Mandela. And the NAACP is going to pounce and say that was all a drama club put on by Oliver Stone. But what it was the Zionists. It was the NAACP was saying that this Joseph Goebbels dude, Zell, was standing up for Leslie Katz, who was Jewish establishment darling from Ellis School, who were recently busted in a huge multi-million dollar museum heist that the NAACP has contributed to by poaching me, by spreading the word through the grapevine of Boy Scouts, both black and white, that I'm trying to get over, by writing poetry that I get credit for, by doing investigative reporting that I get paid for. I was born into a situation where I did public service as a native Pittsburgher, born and raised in Pittsburgh, and they treated me like an alien who crossed the border, like a scab worker. I mean, these are crazy people who were making sex films of me. From the time I was 9 years old, when asleep, when the Jewish Zionist kids ejaculated on me in my sleep when I was 9 years old, they took pictures for their little grapevine. That's just the reality of the city of Pittsburgh. Everybody knows that America has come apart psychologically at the seams with lewd corruption and insanity. But I didn't believe it. So the University of Pittsburgh is going to, until I was absolutely proved it to myself. So the International Court of Justice created a South African presentation of which anybody who is stumped for Martin Luther King, for Malcolm X, for the United Negro College Fund, for the Harlem Renaissance, for the dignity of the black intellectuals, as I always have, is overwhelmed with pride to see. The South African administrative barristers were so profound that they have left a legacy in the history for the entire human race, for universities like the University of Pittsburgh to surmount corruption by. And the NAACP is going to say what? We support Israel, probably. So get the hell out of here. No, they're going to play two tongues. They're going to say, fourth tonguery this, praise South Africa, fourth tonguery that, praise South Africa, like they always do. And I'm just testifying about it.